Which one of you? Which one of you is gonna? What?
Twilight. Read the books or watch the movies.
Oh wow. I was prepared to talk about which one of you was going to be singing to me in High Valerian today. And yeah, I am not ashamed to admit I have read the books.
Stephanie Meyer's fan.
No. I just kind of wanted to know what everybody else was about, and I was at a point in my life where I had ample time. I hated them.
Nobody has that much time. Just saying.
I have seen one of the movies at least.
Okay.
Why are we talking about this?
Why were we talking about this? Oh, because Aaron said it was lovely to gaze upon my pale visage. And I said, like, pale good or pale bad? He said, like, pale, like, kind of shiny, sparkly. I said, oh, like a vampire from Stephanie Meyer's series of books, Twilight. And then we went down that path. So there you have it.
Yeah. I had never read it. I have not read them. I'm not a fan. But I was telling Ryan that I worked at a movie theater when I believe the first one came out. And then for a time later, I worked at more than one Hot Topic across the Inland Empire.
Naturally.
And yeah, right. And Twilight obviously prominently featured at Hot Topic in the early aughts.
Still is.
Yeah, definitely still is. You can still fucking buy Edward's shirt.
Listen, I've been to a Hot Topic maybe once, and I'm not exactly their demo. Okay.
Yeah, they don't have Lakers jerseys.
No, they don't.
They have Stranger Things cosplay.
I'm a Stranger Things fan. That's something.
I picked my Halloween costume to get us sidetracked way
I'm
early.
gonna tell you what I tell my high school kids. Ready?
You don't give a shit.
Nope. Oh, it's better than that. Every year I do it. Every year it works. Every year they get pissed off at me. I say, how many of you are going trick-or-treating? And, a good chunk of their hands go up and I go, too old, too old, too old. And I point at them individually. Aaron, sir, you are too old to have a Halloween costume.
What if I'm going to a costume party?
Is it an Eyes Wide Shut party?
Would that have to be a specific costume?
I can neither confirm I could neither confirm nor deny that, and I will not be wearing what are those? A masquerade like type costume?
Masquerade.
No. Yes. Not doing that. No, I think I'm gonna do Al Borland. I got a red flannel. I got a Binford Tools hat, and I'm prepared to be co-host of Tool Time with Tim the Tool Man Taylor.
He was really the host, right? He was the guy who was showing you how to do everything. So that is who you are.
Yeah, because real men don't need instructions. Yeah, it is true.
You're the co-host, but really you're doing all of the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my favorite part about it is that I'm definitely going to wear it to a business costume party, and Al Borland, or the actor, who, as we have discussed, made a very big mistake in his crypto investments.
Very big.
And is not
No, he's the one who said, I've thought about it and NFTs aren't for me.
That's right. So never mind. He's my hero.
No, Richard Karn is who I'm thinking of.
That's him. That is him.
Yeah,
that's the same
Al
guy.
Borland is. Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Al Borland is Richard Karn.
You're absolutely right. Okay, so that actually makes it even better for me, because everyone in this crowd will have like stuff just say about crypto and stuff. So I'm excited about it. That'll be really fun.
I do the classic old guy. It's my daughter, my nephew, my niece, my other niece, my baby nephew, and then my siblings, and we walk them through our neighborhood. Actually, like, you guys have both at least seen the outside of my house. If my house is to your back and you go left and then right, that street is wild on Halloween.
Oh yeah.
So we have a good time.
What kind of wild are we talking? Like big parties, haunted houses and shit?
Somebody just puts out like, not like traffic cones, but enough of those like slow down kids at play signs that they basically block the street off. And so there's kids everywhere, and there's like 4 or 5 houses that serve alcohol. And usually by that point, I'm drunk enough to not really care if it's like been roofied or something. And then 1 year, 2 years
called
ago,
them Flories.
yeah. 2 years ago, my daughter her costume was a dozen donuts, and she won a contest we didn't even know she was in, and so they had this giant basket of shit that they gave her. It was awesome. So we always we go down the less lit street and then head down the sort of more party street. It's a good time.
So what you're saying, like there are neighbors who are doing trick or treating, but for the adults, they're just giving away booze.
So there is absolute
awesome.
trick or treating, absolutely trick or treating. All the kids are getting all the candy. And then there is a separate station at multiple houses where they give out alcohol. Sometimes it's just like, hey, you want a White Claw? And sometimes it's like, hey, I have this witch's brew. And you're like, well, that's 80% spirits.
The aforementioned jungle juice of college notoriety.
Oh man,
or
so
whatever
much
it is,
blood.
right? Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good time.
Man,
I mean,
Everclear
speaking of
and
the same-
fruit punch. That was the thing.
Everclear, yeah, or like just like cherries or like watermelon soaked Everclear.
Oh yeah, when I
Light
was
that and
when I was that age, the big thing was 99 bananas.
That's strange.
Yes,
it's never been a 99 bananas type of thing when I was that age.
I in fact distinctly remember going to a party in which several high school seniors were drinking 99 bananas on the rocks, trying to look like they were sipping bourbon on the rocks. And I was, even at that point, I was like, what in the fuck are they doing?
That's strange. Okay.
That's like a mixer for a cocktail a divorced 43-year-old woman orders, not something to drink the way they're drinking it.
Yeah, no, clearly. I was gonna say, like, prior to we got on this 99 bananas tangent,
it's like a schnapps.
Yeah,
oh, see, now listen, if you were to say, hey, who are 5 people you want to spend a Monday night Halloween with? Cliff is in the top 4.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He said like, oh, I love taking the kids trick or treating because he would just take one of those large thermoses and fill it full of ice and bourbon and water and just get hammered.
Yep.
Taking the kids trick or treating. He said it was a great time. His spouse of fame, Patty, would just hand out the spouse of fame, yes, of notoriety.
Yeah.
Would just hand out the candy while he would take the children trick or treating while he was just getting obliterated, and none were the wiser.
You can call me crazy, Ryan. Did I attend a party at the Immortal Cliff's house? Which was a costume party.
We would on the regular.
Okay,
in San
thank
Diego,
you.
We would do many. Well, it was a yearly thing where we do a Halloween, or an annual Halloween party. Where I mentioned in a previous episode where I hated dressing up because I always got the last minute shit costumes, and then I found out if you just spent a little bit of time to prepare, it was actually fun.
Yeah, I went with Brandon Williams. We went to one. And Brian came as well. It was a good party.
Also in my top 5 for Halloween party guess.
Yeah, Brandon Williams.
Brian?
Heck yeah.
Brian. Yeah, Brian. Oh yeah. You know Brian?
The different Brian.
I've known Brian since the 3rd grade.
Oh, not the Brian I know then.
No,
okay.
Yeah, you don't know.
Oh, got it. But I'm right about that. The Brian I know too.
Yeah, you are.
He told a girl once at a bar. This is definitely a bar you've been to. I'm going to say that. No free shout outs. We would go and close it down many a Friday and Saturday night. And this girl started eating like off of his plate, but like he wasn't like, hey, help yourself to some of these fries. He had like finished with his food and kind of pushed the plate away. And there was some like what you would call, like there was like 3/4 of a French fry there, like half a bite of his burger left over there, maybe whatever
it was ripe for the garbage.
And she started eating it. And he goes, what are you doing? And she goes, she's terrible. And she goes, well, aren't you done with this? And he goes, get away from me. You smell like old cheese. It was, I almost fell out of my chair. I was laughing so hard. She was so offended. It was so great.
Old cheese.
You smell like old cheese.
Get away from me. You smell like old cheese.
And then I thought, like, well, what if you did something serious to him? Like, what if you slashed his tires? What would he say then? Like, all she did was eat something he certainly was not going to eat. It's still gross. She shouldn't have done that, but
right.
He's very high maintenance.
The verbal lashing he would give you is
I mean, that's a level of, I mean, let's speak on what she did, right? It's a level of desperation that
yes.
only a certain level of intoxication and or hunger is going to bring about.
Yeah.
The highest of standards on the Pretty Neat podcast.
Listen, what did I tell you guys? Come for the MMA, stay for the nonsense. This is what it is.
It is true.
It's time for the Pretty Neat Podcast. It's time for the Pretty Neat Podcast.
Welcome to the Pretty Neat Podcast, where we talk about MMA and other pretty neat stuff. I'm one of your hosts. I have the takes that nobody thinks of. My name is Aaron. With me, my two favorite human beings that I like to talk to once a week and once a week only. The man with the bad gambling advice.
Yeah.
Dom.
Did you guys know how much experience with mason jars do you guys have?
I've dabbled in some mason jars. We live in a pretty conservative area.
Do you ever get into pickling tomatoes and shit?
No.
You should.
That's the liberal area.
Can you tell me, and that's where I cross over in many areas. Can you tell me the brand, the only brand of mason jar? Do you know it off the top of your head?
No.
Okay. It's Ball. And they have
Ball
a very
jars.
specific font, and they apparently sponsor the Denver Nuggets arena.
So it's Ball Arena,
Ball Arena,
or they play the ball.
where they play basketball.
Hell yeah.
I don't even know what anything is anymore. That's
Do you
what
think
I'm
the
gonna
Lakers
say.
are going to win tonight? Yes or no?
No, I don't.
So they're going to go 0-5.
0-4. Actually,
They're
you know
already
what?
0-4.
They're 0-3.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. You know what?
Usually
Let's do it.
Ryan,
Fuck
and
that.
you know what?
I give bad gambling advice. The Lakers are going to win tonight. Put money on them right now. They're down by 4 with 10 minutes left in the second quarter.
Well, the person with good points to go with the bad gambling advice is Ryan.
Yeah, just don't listen to me on UFC 281 because I was wrong on just about everything.
On 280?
280.
What he's
281?
saying, don't listen to him for
281 has
281.
Well, because I'm picking Israel, and we
Yeah.
all know that Dom has
Oh.
the hardest of hard-ons
Yeah, I do.
on Alex Pereira.
Yeah, I do.
Fair enough. Although I think where's my I gotta get my soundboard out. I am so lazy. We talked about being prepared at the beginning of last week's episode, Dom, and I am not. But I do think that we deserve at least this. Because we killed it with our picks actually last week.
We did pretty well.
If anybody did happen to listen to our picks and kind of work out what our picks were,
Right.
because we discuss it, we go back
I'll tell
and
you
forth.
what they were. Incoherent. That's what they were.
They're fairly incoherent, but they're also moderately understandable. And we even if you went Aaron and Ryan agree with this and Dom doesn't, or if you did Dom and Ryan agree with this but Aaron doesn't, if you picked 2 out of 3 in alignment with us, you were 8 for 8 on the fights we chose.
Is that
Mhm.
accurate? So we took Manon.
Yep, by decision.
I feel like I remember us taking Benil,
I called Benil by decision hard.
but
On
that it
this
was
one.
going to be a tough fight, and it kind of wasn't.
It wasn't not tough.
We're gonna talk about Jan and O'Malley later. Did we pick Sterling, right?
Ryan
Yes,
specifically picked Sterling by TKO.
Okay. And then I for sure picked Charles.
I picked Charles as well.
I don't remember if I had Bilal or Sean Brady. We had Caio Barrio for sure. I believe we had Nikita Krylov.
We did.
I picked
You picked Caio.
I picked Kaio, but I didn't pick Krylov. I did pick
Krylov.
Bilal to win.
Yeah, I picked Krylov after a war and a tough decision, and we did get that, which I was pretty happy about. Holy shit! But Dom, also, you were the only one who called KO for Bilal.
Did I say that?
Yeah, Ryan and I were both talking about you and Ryan. Sorry, we're mostly talking about Bilal winning, of course, because I thought Sean Brady would get it done with a knockout.
A lot of people did.
Yeah, definitely. I was one of them. He's undefeated. I hadn't seen him lose. Now I have, with a broke ass nose too. He will certainly remember the name.
What do you think about that stoppage? Do you
I
think
loved
that was
it.
a little bit early?
Nope,
It was like
I loved
standing
it.
on the feet. You thought that was okay?
I thought it
Absolutely.
was good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not arguing with it. Just I would be open to the idea that it was just a tad bit early.
Better a tad early than a tad late. Sean Brady
Yeah.
wasn't recovering
Yeah,
from that.
I agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Fair point.
Yep. Geez. For Islam. Oh yeah, there it is. And Islam. Oh, that's right, Dom. You had Charlie by stoppage.
Yeah.
And then I had Islam by KO in round 2, and he got it in sub.
So do we want to talk about that one first? Because it's kind of the least compelling of the main 3 fights on this card.
Yeah, I
Sure.
think so. I should play the song. So Islam Makhachev is the lightweight champion of the world. Who does he fight next? Do we want to jump right? No, we got to recap
gonna
first.
He's
He's going to fight
Alexander.
Volkanovski. Yeah.
That's right. We already
They're
know
gonna
that.
fight at 284 in Perth. They're gonna fight in fucking Australia.
That's awesome. My bad. What about this fight? What'd you think? What'd you like?
Fucking not competitive at all.
It wasn't.
Surprisingly so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, obviously on the day, fights can take many different paths, and we don't know what current state, mental or physical, those other people or the combatants are going to be in, but it wasn't competitive. And I was shocked. Clearly, it could be. I mean, I picked Oliveira to be able to open himself up for a finish, but be able to capitalize on, the scramble ability. And it just never happened.
No.
Makhachev is a fucking beast. And
his defense was insane.
his defense was great.
Olives was trying.
Rush anything. He didn't rush anything. He didn't put himself in a bad position, which is intriguing, like in the future prospect with him versus Volkanovski, who is the ultimate game planner. Is like, what does he do to try and get himself in a position to win with this guy who you're not going to go to the ground with and is defensively sound and is always going to be threatening to take you down with either a double leg, a single leg. He's going to go to a body lock and then put you up against the cage and use inside trips or leverage and put you to the ground, and then you're fucking done. Once you're on the ground with that guy, it's over. So what do you do? Like, that's the most intriguing thing. I think Volkanovski clearly at a disadvantage physically based on his stature. Even if he played rugby at 211 plus pounds, like, you're not bigger than this guy. You're not bigger than this guy. Like, Makhachev is going to eventually fight at 170 and you're a 145er. I'm intrigued, right? Because I really, truly believe in what Volkanovski can do in terms of like an adequate amount of time to game plan. But what do you do? Like, he's going to have to solve the Rubik's Cube real time.
Next to John Jones and Francis Ngannou, which would likely be the next biggest fight ever that they could possibly make. This really is a divine opportunity. It's not often that the pound for pound, 2 fighters in the pound for pound top 3, let alone top 5 maybe, are in the same weight class and in this position to really fight over it for double belt status. I love all of it. all the show is there. I'm really happy about this move for Volkanovski, not to mention the fact that it makes the featherweight division interesting again in a lot of ways.
He's going to defend both.
But if he doesn't, then it still, I think, makes featherweight more interesting. I like the idea of him moving up.
I agree. I agree with Aaron. Like him, even if he doesn't win, he's like, okay, I'm moving up. You have all this opportunity in the featherweight division. Like Yair Rodriguez is like the guy who comes to mind who hasn't gotten a title fight yet.
Yeah.
In that division, who is super exciting to watch.
Yeah. He should fight Josh Emmett.
Him again. Yeah. Josh Emmett, that'd be a great fight. Like Calvin Kattar, right? And Arnold Allen. That's going to be a great fucking fight. That's coming up on Saturday. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Giga Chikadze, even though he lost his last fight, he's still exciting. Bryce Mitchell, exciting as fuck.
Yeah, and
there's just a lot of great stuff.
And now Bryce Mitchell is going to fight Ilia Topuria, right?
Right. Who's undefeated? They're both undefeated, right?
Yeah.
They're both undefeated.
Yeah. Bryce was going to fight Movsar Evloev, but Evloev had an injury and pulled out. And that Ilia, this is a great opportunity for Ilia, and that's going to be a really hard fight for Bryce.
It's a straight, like, old school styles matchup. You got a wrestler versus a striker. Who Ilia, I think he's knocked out his last 3 opponents. And Bryce Mitchell, who
submits everyone.
2 twisters in the UFC of like 3 twisters in the history of the UFC, which is amazing. And obviously he's the and Chan Sung Jung has the 3rd one. Oddly enough, all in the featherweight division. That's strange. Or is it? I mean, just based on their dexterity and overall well-roundedness.
Yeah.
I also heard that they were talking about Aljo versus Henry Cejudo at 284 in Perth for the bantamweight crown.
And one of them could go up too. If either of them wins, they could go up if Alexander Volkanovski's not there, because Merab won't fight Aljo for the bantamweight belt.
I think they would fight each other eventually if they had to, but I mean, I agree with you, Aaron. Merab, who's beating that fucking guy, right?
I mean, the last one was close, but I think that he needs to be in a contender spot. And
his last name is Dvalishvili. He's a whirling dervish of cardio and just activity, right?
A whirling dervish?
A whirling dervish.
That's tremendous.
A whirling top of activity.
Marab, the whirling dervish.
That should be his motherfucking nickname. You're welcome, Marab. I will take minimal royalties for that.
He should also be a well-seasoned beef dish.
That is
well
too.
Seasoned.
I will have
with expertly prepared finger potatoes. I'll have the Marab
with the fingerling potatoes.
Light salt.
What do you think for Oliveira then next in this?
Well, they're
case?
saying Dariush, right?
I mean, that's a good fight.
Who's Poirier and Chandler are fighting presumably for top contender to fight Islam. Well, after Volkanovski. Islam or Volkanovski, whoever wins there, maybe.
It's still a fucking logjam, right? Lightweight, featherweight, it's a logjam. If you have Oliveira fight Dariush, okay, you're next in line after Gaethje and Chandler. And I mean, I'm sure Dom feels the same way. Like having Makhachev as the champion just kind of like reinvigorates some of those people that have lost previously to have another chance and would still be a really exciting fight, like Michael Chandler, like Dustin Poirier, like Justin Gaethje. Those guys that
you think those guys have
fighters.
A chance against him?
I'm just saying they're action fighters, and you don't know what's going to happen in terms of
true, very true.
The ability to knock somebody out or just inability to like predict what's going to happen in that.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
I would love to see if Michael Chandler can get past Dustin Poirier. I would like to see Michael Chandler up there only because I'd like to see him fight somebody in Khabib's camp. Chandler's kind of the guy who didn't fight Khabib, you know? I want to see him.
Chandler was in Bellator.
Yeah, I know for sure. But I mean, Poirier fought Khabib, Gaethje fought Khabib.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
all of them got to face the greatest of all time, right? And now Islam is his protege and is
Khabib is not the greatest of all time. Don't say that.
second
He's
greatest
not
of
the
all
greatest
time.
of all time. Who's the
No.
greatest of all time?
John Jones.
UFC fighter or greatest lightweight of all time?
Lightweight.
Oh, yeah, it might be Khabib.
Lightweight, yes, it's probably Khabib. and you know what? If Islam can defend multiple times,
I mean, how many times?
and
Right.
Bilal, I mean, can Bilal be in the welterweight contender conversation now? Who, if
Yeah, I
he's
think
under
so.
Khabib's camp, Khabib's legacy will live on even further as a coach, which is going to put him more so in the GOAT conversation for prolonging his legacy that way. I mean, I don't hear people talking about how John Jones' camp is turning me into a champ too. At least Cejudo,
No.
at least Cejudo and Khabib turned their and DC, although he works with Khabib, turn their championships into legacy.
Yeah,
building.
that's fair.
And John Jones is not doing that right now. So he's not building a legacy. He is the greatest of all time right now, but legends never die, according to Babe Ruth's ghost. And that's from Sandlot.
That's from the Sandlot. A
second
movie that
greatest
doesn't
movie.
really hold up.
Do you guys think that
What?
Volkanovski, I'm going to skip right past that because I agree. I think I could even say I've never seen it. Do you guys think that Volkanovski can beat Makhachev?
I think there's a possibility. If you were to ask me, like, right now, who wins in a fight, I'm going to say Islam. Probably 9 times out of 10.
Right now, I would say Islam. I would say 7 times out of 10.
Okay.
I think
A little less confident. That's okay.
Volkanov's he's tough. You know, I look at, or I feel like if Islam was going to finish Volkanovski, you'd do that by KO, which Volkanovski is very tough. I don't think that's going to happen. Or maybe a Kimura, some sort of submission like that. I don't see him getting choked like Brian Ortega tried twice.
Nobody gets submitted by Kimura anymore.
Yeah.
It's more of just a
Islam
a
submitted
submission that
Dan.
they use for leverage.
Yeah, but he submitted Dan Hooker with it 2 fights ago.
Dan Hooker is not a championship fighter.
Yeah.
That's
Dan Hooker is
true.
not exactly Alexander Volkanovski.
But you said that nobody does it anymore, and Islam did it 1 fight ago.
Okay.
So
In that point, based on what I said, you were absolutely correct. However, I amend my statement to say that
I'm sorry. Now we're going to start saying like when we're incorrect about stuff.
championship fighters do not get submitted by Kimuras.
That is true.
that's okay. That's that I'm down for it. They let their arms break. Look at Nogueira
Yes, exactly. Well, Nogueira was a guy who just
and Jacare.
he was able to be composed under pressure.
Speaking about arm dislocations, we have to talk about definitely not my favorite fighter.
Not
Anymore.
What I love how anymore. Oh my god damn it. I have no idea where this came from.
Who is your actual favorite
I
fighter?
literally just threw it out there one time. And it
I think
stuck.
you did and it stuck.
Who is your actual favorite fighter so we can set the record straight?
Matt the Immortal Brown or Zabit Magomed Sharipov. Those are my
People that aren't fighting anymore. Great. Who's your
They're
favorite
not
active
Matt-
fighter?
favorite active fighter
On the UFC roster.
on the UFC roster. That's so hard because I have different reasons for liking different fighters. I would probably say Adrian Yanez is really high up there for me right now.
You're such an obscure like
What
Group
in
of
the
fighters.
actual fuck are you talking about?
Adrian
You asked me
Yanez
why.
is a good fighter and his boxing is fantastic. In the bantamweight division, he's not even in the title contention.
Adrian
Nah.
Yanez is literally no one's favorite fighter. Give us a real answer. This is so silly.
That was a very high up there. Kevin Holland's funny. I'd probably put him up there in terms of favorites.
What about a guy like Brandon Moreno?
Well, Brandon Moreno, I mean, he's probably my favorite fighter.
You just don't want to be the guy that
I
your
don't have a
favorite fighter
favorite.
is a champion or number one contender.
Brandon Moreno was a champion and a number one
Right, but
contender.
you went with Adrian Yanez.
He's like, I look forward to watching him fight.
It is likely that is the only time you've mentioned him in the history of this show.
He's getting in on the ground level of Adrian
Hardly.
Yanez.
Hardly. This is the difference between a hipster and somebody who's actually cool. Is I like Adrian Yanez now, and when he's a prospect like
No, that
Pimblett
makes
in a
you
few
a
years,
hipster. That makes you a hipster.
Then
Yeah.
I can
Like
be
I
a
liked
hipster.
Adrian Yanez before he was cool.
I did because I'm from Texas. I think that
Okay, I can understand that. The Texas aspect. I got that.
I
Okay.
can't.
Does that make you a Jeff
you-
Neal fan as well?
Yeah, hands of steel, man. He's the man. And Valentina Shevchenko,
But she's not
Because-
from Texas.
but she trains here.
She trains
She
in
tra-
Vegas.
She trains on a fucking boat, bro.
Her
She
camp is in
travels-
Texas.
She travels around the world.
She comes here to shoot.
She lives on a boat.
This is so silly.
I think Brandon Moreno might be my top. He really
Okay.
might be.
Like
Like
Brandon Moreno, assassin baby. That's a great choice.
if I could meet a fighter and have the opportunity to actually have some time and engage, he'd probably be the one I want to, because he seems like he'd be the most fun. But fuck TJ Dillashaw, he's a dick bag. And the
Where
fact-
do you guys land on this?
Dude, I am so like just the fact. Okay, so at first, let me rewind. At first, right, watching the fight, we're texting back and forth. I was applauding his level of toughness for just being able to continue to try and be competitive.
So let
in that
me
first round.
jump in on that note because it's very relevant. I don't like when we talk about Chris Moutinho being tough or see, I've already forgotten her name.
Talia Santos?
No, Juliana Pena being tough just because they can take punishment. Your shoulder coming out 20 seconds into the fight and then coming out again and then coming out what I think was a third time, having coming off 20 dislocations in training camp, while a guy like Aljamain Sterling just punishes you for 7.5 minutes. That's what being tough is. Carry on.
Okay, very valid point. After the fact, post-fight interview where he said, like, yeah, it dislocated 20 times in training camp, and I didn't want to hold the division. Like, immediately, emotional response. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah. Like you knew you weren't gonna win.
Whoa, what did you do to your audio?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, my immediate
apologies.
reaction was like,
Oh, it's better now.
no, dude, fuck you. You're never going to win that fight. To Aaron's
Mhm.
point, right? You'll never win that fight. And you still took the fight.
Mhm.
And then everything came out after the fact. You were not embedded. You didn't do the open
Mhm.
workouts. You didn't do any of the interviews. You ducked everybody. And you were able to pass the medicals, which that's a whole separate story. And I
Mhm.
get it. If somebody's being deceptive and saying they feel fine, a doctor, unless they're really looking for a specific thing, is not going to be able to tell that his shoulder is fucking fucked.
Yeah. And if you're
But-
going in there and you can't win, you're not in there to compete. It's not an athletic competition. You're in there to get a paycheck and pay your team and fuck the fans and fuck the gamblers and fuck the bookies and every person involved, because you're not going to last 5 rounds with one arm. Like, there's no possible way he could actually have believed that he was going to be competitive, let alone win. And in that case, hold
So-
up the division? What?
So I disagree with you there. From everything I've heard on other shows talking about TJ Dillashaw, I do think he thinks he can win every fight.
Then he needs
one-
responsible coaches.
one straight right hand. I agree with you there for sure. The problem though for me is it's everything you guys just said, and it's really disrespectful to Aljamain because he became the champion under strange
Oh, yeah.
circumstances. He defended. Some people think Jan won that fight. He didn't, but people think he did. And now this. So it's like Aljamain is a really, really skilled fighter who probably would have beat TJ anyway, but he's just got this weird kind of it's almost like there's his championship is highlighted because you got to read the footnotes or something.
Yeah,
And
every win has an asterisk next to it.
yeah, and I hate that for him because he is a better fighter than that.
Mm-hmm. He really
Also,
is.
That's not his
TJ's
fault.
no, it's not his fault. None of it is his fault. TJ's team let him take a whole lot more punishment than he needed to take.
Mhm.
And he, again, from everything I've ever heard anyone say about him, he is ready to die in there. The team has to get him out of his own way. They have to. It's like them not meeting their fiduciary responsibility, even though money is only partially, like, it should be criminal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
They should be. I mean, it was in Abu Dhabi. If it was in like Nevada or something, I do wonder if they maybe would have all been suspended for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
By the athletic commission.
I think about, like, if I had a physical therapist, and I mean, you sign a waiver. Well, I guess that's it, right? You sign a waiver that says they're not responsible for anything. They get fucked up. But if they tell me to do a stretch wrong for 6 months and then I walk funny for the rest of my life,
right?
They're liable. You'd go after them. For TJ, it's like his camp is telling him to do things that are ruining his career, and possibly his livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess is that they're just getting paid for it. But he's 37, man.
Yeah, this
what
is.
Can we say?
I mean, this is it.
He should be rounding down, and
He's going to get surgery. He's going to come back. He's going to fight probably 2 more times, but they're going to have to be legacy fights.
Yeah,
right. The like Dominic Cruz type fights.
Yeah, Cruz was the guy I was thinking of for him.
Oh, that'd be good.
Dominic Cruz, I mean, it was a rematch, right? That's how he won his first title. He beat Dominic Cruz. It would be a great rematch. And they're comparable in age.
No, he won his first title off Renan Barão.
Renan Barão? All right. Well, I stand corrected.
Yeah, he has not beat Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz beat him by decision.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And then Cody beat him. And was like,
Cody
fuck
did
you.
beat him.
Bad.
There was somebody else though in the Dillashaw camp that has almost the exact same shoulder injury, and now there's concern that maybe somebody in the camp, conditioning wise, or somebody in the training team
it's
has
the guy who does the physical training.
Yeah,
maybe it's the way he's doing it, because you're right, and I can't think of the other. It's another fighter, who had a similar injury with their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And they're wondering if there's a correlation to
the training method or
training
something,
methods, right?
Yeah.
That they're
How
not
could there not be? How could there not be?
Yeah.
And then, to be quite honest, right? It's highly likely that's the case.
Yeah. I guess one argument could be made that they are wrestlers. And primarily wrestlers have a lot of neck and shoulder issues as they get older.
But I mean, like, come on, like two in close relation in terms of time. That's suspect.
Yeah. Speaking of suspect, we should move into the people's co-main event of UFC 280. Petr Yan.
You guys aren't going to like what I have to say about this.
Lost a split decision to Sean O'Malley. I'm coming way more around to the idea that Sean O'Malley just won this fight.
Me too.
Not that, like, there was not a robbery, I should say. I'm gonna put it this way. In the TJ Dillashaw Aljamain Sterling fight, round 1 was 10-9 for Aljamain Sterling. And all of the rounds in the Petr Yan Sean O'Malley fight were 10-9s. But they were close. So, like, that's just a discrepancy I have with the rounds and judging, because I mean, that first round between TJ and Alja was like a 10-7. Let's be real. He dislocated his shoulder in 20 seconds and got beat up for 4.5 minutes. That being said, I rewatched the fight and I give Sean O'Malley round 1 and round 3. Even though that Petr Yan had quote unquote control, there was no clear purpose to finish the fight with that control. He was fighting Sean O'Malley's attempts to get up. He wasn't attempting a submission. He was, even though he was fighting to control, not to win, right? And Sean had more impact standing up. I liked Sean. I actually do think he got lucky with the judges he had. That's me.
So I'm with you. I think, and I actually think split decision is the right way for him to win this. I initially thought it was bad for his career. I told you guys that. I have come around on that. I think him winning is good for his career. Him getting a title shot is good for his career. Furthermore, to your point, 5 minutes and 44 seconds of control time, and he did exactly nothing with it. There was never a point where Sean was in danger of getting stopped when they were on the ground. Never a point.
Nope.
And Sean on the feet had Jan in danger of getting stopped at least twice, if not 3 times. And is 50% of his ability punch from ending that fight. So round 1 is the issue, right? Most people seem to agree O'Malley won round 3, Jan won 2. If that's a 5-round fight, Sean stops it in the 4th, gets the stoppage in the 4th. That cut was so bad.
You don't know
and
that.
frankly, so many people, this is not even a veiled shot at what Ryan said. So many people thought Jan was going to run right through him, and Sean more than held his own, showed exactly how skilled he is, surprised everyone except for maybe him and a handful of his coaches for how freaking good he is. And that's that. Damage matters. What would you guys rather have? I put this in the note. Would you rather have an outcome like fucking Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman, where Usman dominates for literally 4 minutes and 42 seconds, and then not a fluke, but a fluke happens and now we have a new champion, or something like this, where a very competitive fight gets a decision you maybe didn't agree with? And that's an honest question.
I'd rather have this.
Me too.
Definitely. And you know what? You're right in that there's this made me think about how there's sort of a procedural decision, which to me is like who won within the rules. And then there's an existential winner as well, which is if this fight had no time limit, maybe not to the death, but at least till somebody is no longer able to continue, who would have won? And I don't know that Sean O'Malley would have won that, because Petr Yan ended the fight with a great takedown on top, but like Dom was saying, though, if that goes to the 4th or the 5th, you get Leon Edwards moments from people like Sean O'Malley, because he does catch Petr Yan, and he did. So I like O'Malley being up at a top contender spot anyway, especially for bantamweight. So Cejudo doesn't come back.
Well, hang on. What's the rebuttal?
Everything you guys said, I don't disagree with, right? Having Sean O'Malley as the quote unquote #1 contender is more exciting. It's a new concept, and somebody who's been very exciting in previous fights and showed something in this fight that was the biggest question. What is his ability to step up and be competitive against the top tier level of competition? And we found out that he dug down into a place that we've never seen him go to and be that guy. However, his ground game is not that good.
No, his ground game is bad. His defense was not bad, though. You can't argue that.
He was able to get back up to his feet after a period of time. Petr Yan is a kickboxer. He is also known for having very effective takedowns, but he's not known for being the guy to keep it there, like an Aljamain Sterling, who's just going to dominate you on the ground and not allow you to get back up. And then he used his distance very well. That's the best thing I could say about it.
Yeah.
He was long. He was hitting at the end of his strikes, and he was using great angles. Everything that we knew that he could do previously, he was doing it against top tier competition. You guys know, after the fight, I was like, that's fucking bullshit. Petr Yan won that fight. And I thought he won round 1. I thought it was fairly clear just by his level of domination. However, in hindsight, right? Knowing that there's been a change to the rules and how you score these fights, and it's based upon the most dominating factor is damage.
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley caused the most damage.
Mhm.
So I don't disagree with it now. Like in hindsight, it makes sense. However, the fact that Sean O'Malley himself was surprised that he won the fight was like, oh, wow, I'm going to have to watch that again. Like,
Yeah.
you can't say that I was wrong to say, or other people were wrong to say, like questioning the decision and the fact that all of the MMA beat writers, whoever were contributing to ESPN, there was not a single fucking one that gave that fight to Sean O'Malley.
So
Not
I want
a
to
single fucking one.
I want to say this. I'm not saying you or any of them are necessarily wrong. And as they were reading the decision, I fully expected them to say Petr Yan. I'm not saying I think he won. Again, I actually think the split decision is the right call if you are factoring in damage and the fact that Yan did nothing with all of that control time.
Mhm.
I was surprised because we've seen that exact fight before go to the guy with more or girl with more control time. We've seen that before. And I think the writers are looking at it with that lens. I for sure thought that's how the call was going to go. And it just didn't go that way for whatever reason. You could say the fix was in. Certainly combat sports judges have earned their reputation.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's a little weird, but I think we're all kind of in agreement. Actually, you could make the argument Yan won. If you factor in damage, though, it's really not close.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think about like Aljamain Sterling when he beat Petr Yan in their second fight. He rode him like a backpack.
He won that by holding him down. Yeah.
He won it with control, but he was trying to do something with it. He was searching for a submission. He was hitting. He was changing his position to go for new shit. Somewhat. I mean, he mostly rode the back. But with Petr, when he was in controlling positions of Sean O'Malley, he just used it to get a couple of shots in. Maybe. But it was more or like he was scoring the points. He felt that he was scoring the control points by preventing Sean O'Malley from doing anything. There's a lot more sway towards effective offense now than there is towards control. It's like, and I like it. I like it myself. It makes it a little more interesting.
If they want to value the control time, they need to adopt something from the combat or competitive, rather, jiu-jitsu rules where you get a quarter point for passing a guard and a half point for this and a full point for this other thing, and you take the back this way. You got to give something, because people understand significant strikes. People understand 63 head strikes versus 24 head strikes. Okay, so you get him down on the ground, and then divided up over 15 minutes, you spent one of every 5 minutes or slightly more than one of every 5 minutes trying to keep him there versus him getting up. But he did every time.
Yep.
It was a strange fight. It wasn't necessarily, I don't know. I actually kind of thought this was going to be a version of this is what we were going to see from Oliveira and Makhachev.
What you said is correct, but one of the things that is currently in place that they could adopt, which I'm not saying they will, and they probably won't, is that one fighting championship has part of their rule set in scoring takedown defense, right? In the current rules for the UFC, you don't get any points for defending a takedown, right? It's just neutralized. Where if you have somebody who, like Israel Adesanya, who is close to 100%, probably in the 90 percentile mark in terms of his takedown defense, he would score points in one fighting championship for his ability to defend the takedown.
That's nice.
Which kind of benefits strikers in this regard, as opposed to people that are just known for they take down, they control, there's ground and pound, and they essentially like nullify any type of offense from their competitor.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting. I think Sean and Aljo would be an exciting fight. If Cejudo doesn't come around. I think that, I mean, Sean is his own manager too, so he'd kind of be making some waves in that way, which is pretty cool. I hope he's making bank. I mean, maybe having a manager would have yielded him some more money, but who knows? But Aljamain would be interesting. I think of Aljamain getting knocked out by a flying knee. And O'Malley has great knees, so I think that would be competitive. But if it goes to the ground, I have a lot of worries for O'Malley. But I he would be a fun bet to place. He would be
going to the ground.
It would be fun. It'd be a fun bet to place anyway. Let's cap off the main card of the prelims. Beneil Dariush halted Mateus Gamrot's hype train a little bit with a decision, unanimous. Beneil, lightweight with everything, the logjam we just talked about. Where does he stand? Is he just like, we need to put somebody in a belt fight, let's go Beneil, or what does he do now? Because I genuinely don't know.
It's tough. What the fuck do you do with him? Because he's on, what's his fight win streak now?
I think it's 8.
8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
He's come off an injury. He took a matchup that was supposed to be bad for him, and he won. Right? He showed super well-roundedness. Like, that's not really a great term, but he showed how well-rounded he was in that fight, and his ability to stop somebody who was as frenetic as Mateusz Gamrot is, his ability to just nullify that.
Mm-hmm.
So who does he fight? I mean, I don't have an answer.
I don't either. I mean, unless you want to give him Charles Oliveira. I actually think that would be a reasonable fight. If Islam's going to fight Alex Volkanovski and Poirier and Gaethje are going to fight for top contender, let's let Beneil and Charles fight for this next top contender spot. I think they're both a little older, or at least have some longevity in the sport. And let's see if Charles can restart his streak and end Beneil's. I'd be in for it. And Beneil's tough. Let's see how tough.
Yeah, tough.
And then we had Katie Chooks losing her decision to Manon Fiorot. Exactly. This fight went pretty much exactly how we thought it was going to go. And congrats to Manon for the aggressive approach to Katie Chooks and winning her fight.
Yep.
That's a fun one. There's so many things that we have to talk about outside, but was there any other pretty neat stuff that we have to recap? I don't think so. House of the Dragon was fun. That ended. I enjoyed it. Season 2 will be cool.
They stuck the landing.
They did.
They actually returned a little bit back to the books in terms of how that ended. The only thing I wanted to see was, spoiler alert, is Jace or Jaehaerys, the oldest son of Rhaenyra, landing in Winterfell, or in the Riverlands, to gain the,
Starks and the
Starks and the Tullys, their oaths of allegiance, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that in the books, the Lord of Winterfell is essentially the same age at that point in time as Jaehaerys. So I wanted to see like how that broship was gonna play out. But it was fucking great. And my wife summed it up best. Like Vhagar chomping down on Luke and his poor sweet little dragon. Spoiler alert, sorry.
Arax.
Yeah,
Arax.
looks so small.
and then just like delivering that news, and you just see the face and the anger, and then that's it. And we're gonna have to
Yeah.
wait 18 months essentially for the
minimum.
next
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
next season to come out. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, what the fuck are we doing? We should be filming these things like
The showrunners announced that
concurrently.
they think it will be coming out within a year.
I heard
Yeah.
one of them say they're still working on writing season 2.
I heard
That-
the
just-
same thing,
just
that they were
this
still
weekend.
writing it.
Yeah.
I heard today that they're already starting to film in 2023, early 2023, with everything pacing as it is. And the first episodes could be ready by December of next year. So maybe not
Ooh.
18 months, but 10 to 14.
Yeah, 14, 15.
Not to mention the Jon Snow spinoff. So I mean, it's not like they're gonna have to do stage reconstruction or anything like this. They're clearly maintaining all of the sound stages. For
I
all
don't think
of the
we need a
spin-offs.
Jon Snow spinoff. I'll say that.
Rumors there's
Why
going to
not?
be an animated one too.
I
about
thought
the
that was-
early
Wouldn't want to see
lore.
a Jon Snow spinoff.
I guess maybe I do.
Yeah,
I
Have him
love
go
Ghost.
like north of the wall.
That's
Yeah.
where
You know
that's
what
where
would
we
be
last
really
saw him, right?
good? Yes. A
Yeah.
fucking Arya spinoff where she
Yes.
goes west. If you read the
Mhm.
books where she goes west in a sailing ship,
Yes.
Mhm.
that would be badass.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could see that happening, especially as if the same actress comes of age, because they are revisiting the similar casts, which is pretty cool.
So the book, have you read the Ryan? I know I've asked you. Have you read the book?
House of Blood.
Fire
Fire and Blood?
and
Fire and
Blood,
Blood?
and then there's a new one, like a separate edition of it that came out yesterday called The Rise of the Dragon.
I have not read them.
So it is not a traditional book. The newest one has a lot of like really impressive artwork in it. It's more textbook, but it's being told by a maester who is designed to be kind of a unreliable narrator.
Okay.
Because some of the storylines do not add up, which is on purpose.
Isn't
Um,
that how the Fire and Blood is told as well? Where it's
Yes,
it's told
yeah,
from
they-
unreliable narrators.
They both are, and it's the same maester. It's the same story, I guess. Just the one that came out yesterday is a different edition of it.
Okay.
With more artwork. But it's told from the perspective of an unreliable narrator. And I guess some people, and I suppose I have both of them, I could read it. I plan to. Some people think Luke doesn't die, that he ends up surviving that somehow and getting amnesia and becoming like a fisherman's boy or something.
How the fuck does that happen?
Yeah.
That would be a real bad choice. But that scene when he gets off the dragon and you see the silhouette, it's like,
Oh,
Yeah.
holy shit. And then the one where it's flying under them is like,
Yeah.
oh man.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you're
So
just
good.
like when you see him flying in the weather, you're just
Yep.
waiting for that shot of like seeing the size discrepancy. Like Vagar, obviously, if you don't know, he's the largest dragon in existence at the time.
The largest
So-
living, yeah.
Yeah, and Arax is a juvenile dragon because
Mhm.
he was in Luke's crib when he
Yeah, he's
was
young.
born to hatch, and Vagar is
She was
old.
Yeah.
Like I think he's one of the original Conqueror's dragons, either
Yeah.
one of his or his wife's. So it's just like
You're
obviously
talking
this-
about Vagar?
Vagar.
yeah.
So
And-
Balerian's the biggest, right? And then
Valerian the
Vagar.
Dread. Yep.
Visenya Targaryen, and then Balon, then Lena, then Aemond, rode Vagar, and then
Yes.
Balerian, and then the one that Damon was singing to at the end is Vermithor.
Vermithor, which was Jaehaerys's, the
Correct.
previous king's dragon, right?
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. I like the idea that the so-called magic that lets the Targaryens be dragon riders is connected to their purpose of defeating the White Walkers, and that the further their intentions get from serving that purpose at some point and protecting that purpose, the less control they have over the dragons. And that as people's dragon riders intention is going more towards control in the realm, the dragons respond less, which is actually why they attacked one another in the show against their riders' wishes.
And
Not
they were,
just-
they were both using that same command, that serve me.
Like it was just clear that they were not doing it for that, so they just turned into wild dragons. It was a scared little dragon and a big hungry dragon. What do you want?
Doheres is the Valerian for like all must serve, and I think it's like it's from that they use those words for obey me.
I really like how they ended the last episode with the same shot as they ended the pilot, with the camera moving in on Rhaenyra's face, but obviously for different reasons. The first time was when she was named heir, so she looks proud and excited about the throne, and this time she's just like so filled with vengeance and like gonna burn everything. I love it. I love it.
I'm wondering where who's gonna ride Vermithor? I think one of the Valerian girls, it seems like, right?
Well, it seems like what they're doing is obviously Daemon wants to harness dragon power because obviously he has a strong belief that dragons are what's gives the Targaryens their power and also what's going to win the war. Now, dragon trainers could also be dragon riders. Then you got all the people that have Valerian blood that could also be dragon riders, aka all of Aegon II's bastards, right? That are running around in King's Landing that could potentially grow up to ride dragons because they have Targaryen blood. But you could potentially do the same because obviously Luke, Lucerys, Jaehaerys, Rhaenyra's kids from Mr. Strong are not pure Targaryen blood, but also they can ride dragons because they fucking have dragons. So obviously point proven. So I think there's going to be like a arms race to a certain degree of getting people that can ride dragons so they can use them to fight, and then we'll see what happens, right? Because this in the book, from what I understand, the Dance of Dragons only really lasts about 2 years. Now, I don't necessarily think they would take the rest of the series covering the Dance of quote dragons, but obviously they would figure out how to articulate the aftermath of that in setting up what is to be a pretty fully fleshed out prequel to Game of Thrones.
And George R.R. Martin confirmed something that like he's worked with the show directly on 17 of the dragons. So something like 17 dragons are supposedly going to be involved in season 2. So,
well, they have 12 or 13 plus the eggs that Daemon harvested.
Yeah.
So we're right there. So the Dance of Dragons was a 2-year war, 129-131 after Conquest, which, as I'm sure you guys know, is after the conquest of Aegon the First. Don't Google it unless you are really okay with super crazy major spoilers. It's about the journey, right? Not the not the destination.
Yeah. Well, it's fun to speculate on the destination. That's exactly why we make picks.
In fact, if you there is a pretty cool art depiction of the dragon scene we saw at the end of the first season, as they leave Storm's End and what happens to Arax.
I've definitely seen spoilers.
Vagar. Yeah.
But it was a long time ago. A channel I like on YouTube is called Useful Charts. They provide charts that are useful. And they made one that was a Game of Thrones family trees. And it was really, really cool.
The issue I have is too many of them have the same name.
Yeah, that's pretty
that's the only slight nitpick I'm gonna have. I think I was out on it after the last season of the show, Game of Thrones, and now with the book and this show and some of the sort of supplementary materials, I am right back in.
Yeah, we restarted Game of Thrones. We're about 5 episodes into season 1. We decided
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, we're into it. Let's there's a few sporting events this weekend. We should talk about them.
And now it's time for the Pretty Neat Podcast picks.
Woohoo! UFC Fight Night. Qatar versus Allen from the UFC Apex in Las Vegas is this Saturday. Before that, there is a Bellator card as well, which should be fun. AJ McKee is fighting. That'll be cool. Leon Edwards Fabrizio is fighting. He beat Lyoto Machida in his last fight.
Wait, Leon Edwards?
Yeah, Leon,
his brother, not Leon Edwards.
Yeah, his little brother Fabrizio.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
Yeah, so
I heard that in my head differently.
so that'll be cool. I believe there's a boxing match. Is there?
Yeah.
Isn't there a boxing match this weekend?
There is. Have you guys tried? Let's. Do you have the Dom queued up?
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's part of this.
Ooh. So Logan Paul and KSI have Prime Hydration. Have you guys tried this?
No.
Aaron, pull it up.
Prime Hydration.
Yep.
We did have this discussion at one point. I prefer Liquid IV.
Right there. Yep.
Oh, geez.
So they are not a competitor with Liquid IV. They are more a competitor to Gatorade and like Body Armor.
Okay.
Body Armor, of course, started by Mike Trout, Kobe Bryant, several other of my favorite athletes. I hate to say it, Prime is better. And they're eventually going to sell this to someone and make $2 billion. So
yeah,
we can say whatever we want, but
why is it good? Flavor?
Yeah, I mean it's super basic bitch stuff, but just the flavor. So the Metamoon, very good. The blue raspberry, a little sweet for me.
Mm-hmm.
Lemon lime, very good. I have not had the grape. I'm not a grape person. Tropical punch I have in the fridge right now. The ice pop, it's supposed to taste like one of those rocket pops.
Yeah.
So good. So good. I've not had the orange. I'm not a big orange fan either. So it's
so
honestly,
if Jake doesn't get rich boxing, then Logan's going to get rich hydrating everyone.
I mean, they're already pretty rich, but this is the type of thing. There's a YouTuber that I have recently gotten into that I was like aware of. I was aware of one of his sub channels or his other channels, not his main one. It's because I call it sub, but he has more than 2 million subscribers to it. So it's hard to call it like a secondary thing. And I bought something pretty expensive yesterday or the day before from his store that he sells stuff on, because I watched a 30-minute video of him breaking it down. I was like, you know what? That fits like a ton of needs in my life. And compared to similar products, no free shout outs, that are in that same quality range that they're claiming to be, it's actually a fair price. So it's not here yet. We'll see. But this Prime, you can get it at Target. You can get it all over the place. Pick one up when you see it, because they are. I got to give credit where credit's due.
I will. What about the other Paul brother?
I don't know.
You really?
Did you?
Whoa.
So Le'Veon Bell, Uriah Hall. I want to. Oh, there you are.
There
Ryan,
he is.
have you had Prime Hydration?
I am not, but you said it was good.
It's so good. You got to try it. Just pick one up at Target. It's so good. Anyway, is Lomachenko coming back this weekend too?
I don't know if it's this weekend, but it
soon.
might be. It might be this weekend.
Aaron, go to schedule at the top.
Oh.
We're not getting Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence. That's a bummer.
That is a bummer.
We talked about that last week. When is Lomachenko? Oh no, yeah, it's Saturday. Cool.
Which is great. I mean, he's gonna demolish Jermaine Ortiz. I don't know why I said Ortiz. I'm not Brazilian. And then did you guys say this while I was away, but that the betting odds have changed and now Jake Paul is a betting favorite against Anderson Silva? Did you see that?
Well, Anderson Silva said he got knocked out 3 times in training or 2 times in training, and then he said, no, I got knocked down.
Right. It could be translation because he's speaking in Brazilian or Portuguese. Sorry.
Could be.
It could be. And to be quite honest, like, didn't he look good against in his last fight? Do you think he would have gotten knocked out 2 times? It's not out of the realm of possibility, but do you think that's the...
I don't think Silva's getting knocked out. Even in his last fight, he still looked really quick, at least quicker than Tyron.
Do you think he got knocked out in training? Do you think that's realistic?
I have no fucking idea.
I don't think it's realistic.
I think if it was real, we wouldn't have heard about it. We didn't hear about it when it happened to Anthony Joshua before Andy Ruiz won. So until after the fact.
Did you see Anthony Joshua's music video?
No, I don't want to. This is where the Dom comes into play, though, with the Anderson Silva knockout/knockdown. This is the type of thing with Jake Paul where it's kind of the inverse. It's like the upside down. That's a Stranger Things callback for you. It's like the upside down version of what's going on with Aljamain Sterling, where like stuff out of his control. Jake Paul has had some kind of weird things now. This being the third of his last 3 fights. He did not fight Rachmanov, or he's not fighting Rachmanov like he's supposed to.
Right.
A guy who I think most real boxing fans are pretty sure would have beat him. He, is, I don't know what sort of sanctions this thing has. It's in Arizona. Is it going as an actual professional fight? I don't know. I guess it is, right? This is one of those things where it's like, all right, is the fix in here? Now, Tyron Woodley is not going to let Jake Paul just fucking flatline him like that. So
Anderson Silva?
No, Tyron Woodley, because I'm saying like Woodley was a late replacement too, right? So it's like, okay, are we being played a little bit here? Is this a YouTube video, not an actual boxing match? But then that was like severe head trauma, apparently. Tyron Woodley took, unless it was an acting job and he just went catatonic for a little while. I don't know.
I don't see Silva getting hit like that. I just don't.
Well, Silva's quite a bit bigger than Tyron Woodley.
Yeah,
so that'll be
This is
tougher.
actually the first fight where Jake Paul is going to fight somebody of commensurate size.
Yeah,
that's true. Quite a bit bigger, and at least especially with reach as well.
I guess I have a hard time. I'm interested to see what happens here. I have a hard time. The Jake Paul thing, to me, now here's the thing. I don't really actually know any Jake or Logan Paul fans, save for my younger brother, who is a huge Logan and Jake Paul fan and has been for as long as I can remember, legitimately years and years. So I have a hard time believing that this whole Jake Paul experience isn't predicated on him staying undefeated.
Yeah, that's true. It might be.
It is hard for me to think, and I do think he has a savvy business mind. I know his brother does. I know they have smart people around them. You don't turn YouTube videos into the amount of money they have without having something kind of pushing the issue, if you will. And I'm not knocking them for that. It's just a fact. So my thing is, if he loses, it feels like this whole thing stops. But also, if he loses, well, okay, great. I lost to maybe the best UFC fighter of all time in my 6th pro fight. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So he can play it either way. I guess, because I
Yeah.
don't think Silva will knock him out, and I certainly don't think Silva will win a decision because I'm just not positive this is a real fight. Because on this same card, this is the Dom for you, a former running back and Uriah Hall are fighting, and we talked about this a little bit, but let's really break it down just a couple of days before the fight. This is a really bad look for all of combat sports if Uriah Hall loses.
Yeah,
It delegitimizes almost everything. It really does.
especially if
you
Silva
had
loses
a fucking
too.
a former running back knock out somebody who won the UFC Ultimate Fighter show.
Yeah,
A guy who
runner-up.
many
Did not win.
training partners said
Didn't
that
win.
Calvin
if you
Gastelum beat him.
they say if you put like TJ Dillashaw's mind into Uriah Hall's body, you have a guy who defends the belt 11 times.
Oh yeah, I could see
So,
that.
That's what they say about Uriah Hall. So it's like he can't lose to a running back. It can't happen.
Yeah, well, what you said before about how the Jake Paul train might be predicated on his being undefeated, I think that if he loses a competitive decision to Anderson Silva, that would be as close to good, best case scenario, as winning a convincing decision over Anderson Silva. Like, if he knocks Silva out, it can be called a fluke over and over again, or he's old, or he got knocked out 3 times during training and he did it to Tyron as well, and blah blah blah. But if it's convincing and competitive, then it might be a good look for Paul for sure.
Well, and to my point about his fans, again, I don't know many of them except my brother. My brother will not. If Jake Paul could get knocked out inside of 30 seconds in round 1, and he's not going to lose a single fan. So I guess I have answered my own question. Maybe just the boxing part of what he does stops, or maybe we see him do like some weird celebrity stuff, or maybe the boxing thing continues and he just says, yeah, I lost to a literal legend.
Yeah,
that's
just not that bad.
He's a clips and sound bites guy, and that's what his fans want. So it's like yesterday may as well have been last year. So
yep. It's gonna be. I'm excited just to see some boxing again. Like or not see some boxing again, just to see more. This is still stepstones for me.
Well, they're just getting kicked in the nuts by the UFC over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't get Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. We get Tyson Fury against Derek Chisora for some reason. Tyson Fury apparently just not retiring. Like, yeah, okay. We don't get Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, which is the one everybody wants. You know, the UFC isn't missing on these. We get Volkanovski Makhachev right after Makhachev Charles Oliveira. Nobody wants to see Tyson Fury fight Derek Chisora for what I guess is a third time.
Yeah,
it is a third time. Obviously it's a stay busy fight, and Tyson Fury saying like he's retiring, he's offering Anthony Joshua all these fights. It's just obviously it's smoke and mirrors. The fight that we want to see is him fight Alexander Usyk, which God willing will happen in 2023, and then he can ride off in the sunset if he so chooses to. But yeah, there's a lot of nonsense going on when it comes to that.
It's just the problem boxing has, and here, because I don't know. Does anyone think Derek Chisora can beat Tyson Fury?
No, hell no.
What are we even doing? And freaking Dimitri Bivol, who we most recently saw beat Canelo Alvarez, is fighting on Saturday or a week later or whatever too. So there is like guys fighting. Lomachenko was the fucking belle of the ball for a long time.
Dude, you realize that Lomachenko's like 35, 36?
Yeah.
He's not going to be fighting much longer.
Look, if you go back and watch Lomachenko's run when he was 9-1, that man was a fucking magician. He's a little bit younger than that. He was born in 88, so he's like 30. He'll be 35 next year. Yeah, he's 34. Yeah, it's nuts how good he was. Aaron, if you're looking for like a fun, like 10-minute YouTube set of highlights. He was and even like his dancing or the way he hits tennis balls. And then I think Gervonta Davis agreed to a fight as well, right?
Gervonta?
Yeah. Oh, with Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, he's gonna fight Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
The thing is with like Lomachenko, they want him to fight Devin Haney, which I want him to see him fight Devin Haney as well. But
Me too. Yeah.
but like to your point, like the whole fucking problem with boxing is like getting people to make the goddamn matchups and do it. We're wasting all these fucking people's primes, and then we're fighting them super late in their career, and we're not seeing the type of competition that we could see, that we are seeing in the UFC, which part of me wants to say like, well, fucking, the UFC can do it because they have a goddamn monopoly on it as well. And that's not fair, right? And the boxing contestants have way more financial gain in the fact that they have control over who they fight. But at the same time, like, it's goddamn irritating as well, because Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford should be goddamn fighting.
Just really quick. LeBron James has scored 10 points or more in 1,100 straight NBA games.
Yeah, well, he's really good at basketball.
That stat doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I'm sorry. Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence should be fighting. And the fact that they're not, it's Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, it's like Adesanya, Pereira. It's like Leon Edwards, Usman. It's like Makhachev, Oliveira. It's that level of fight, or bigger.
It's better than all of that.
Yeah.
It's better than all of that.
No, you're right.
They're both very proven.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun weekend. Do you have any picks for any of those big boxing matches?
No.
I don't want to.
Wins. Anderson Silva wins the decision. I know Dom said he wouldn't do a decision, but he's just going to dominate him.
Okay.
I can see that.
Dominate Jake Paul.
I can see Paul's towel getting thrown in.
No.
Uriah Hall is going to knock out Le'Veon Bell.
I hope so.
I really hope so, for the sake of MMA. And I love Calvin Kattar. Yeah. I just don't know if he can stop the takedown from Arnold Allen.
I was gonna say I got Arnold Allen all the way in this fight.
Is this kind of Arnold Allen's coming out party?
It would be. It's definitely the biggest step up in competition, and for him,
he beat Dan Hooker.
Yeah. Kattar's gotta. You know what I mean? It's like Kattar's gotta bring knees and elbows, and if his knees and elbows are not on point, he's just in for a mauling. And I don't see it going all 5 rounds. I would have Arnold Allen myself by finish, probably in the later rounds.
I like Arnold Allen here.
I like Arnold too.
This guy has been fighting for 10. He's been fighting since he was 18, effectively.
The fights once a year. Fights once a year. That's the problem. He needs to fight more frequently.
He does. If he wants to move up and be a contender, you got to keep your name out there. And it fades after 6 months. And if you're not, and if he wants to be a champion, he's got to fight twice a year.
At the rate the UFC is going, it fades the next Saturday.
Yeah, it can.
Let me ask you this. What is the number for the over under amount of times any of the 3 announcers on Saturday nights mentions UFC 280?
10.
10? 5.
No, I was going to give you like 3.5. Over or under 3.5 times.
Over.
Where they mentioned 280. You think over? I think it's close. It's definitely not 10. How many times are they going to mention 281? That number could be 10.5.
Yeah, it's a big fight.
You gotta
have another fight night right after this week.
So UFC, it's next man up, it's next event up, and that's. Did you guys? Tyson Fury is literally the best boxer on earth. He's the heavyweight champion of the world, undisputed. Nobody thinks there's any heavyweight better than him. It used to be that the world of sports kind of moved around heavyweight boxing. And now it's
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, he's fighting December 3rd. It's like, that's in 4.5 weeks. How come nobody knew about that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a problem. And yet we could talk for an hour about this UFC fight night if we wanted to. There's some fun
Mhm.
names on here. Khalil Roundtree. Is it Trayshawn
Yeah.
Gore? Am I saying that right? Jared
It's,
Vandera,
Trishan Gore.
Mm-hmm.
Tim
Dustin
Means,
Jacoby.
Dustin
Yeah.
Jacoby, Andre Arlovsky, who is
Yeah.
making his every 2 weeks appearance on a UFC fight card.
Joseph Holmes mustache.
Chase the Dream Hooper is coming back. Like there's all
Yeah.
kinds of shit we could get into if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's like the boxing. I don't know what it is with promoters, but the promoters aren't promoting how they could be.
Well, somehow the two biggest promoters on earth are complete fucking morons. And they have
legacy
failed their way to the top. Well, no, De La Hoya is not legacy, but certainly Eddie Hearn is. But I think anyway, right? Wasn't his dad a big promoter or his uncle or something?
Yeah. Well, regardless, the nice thing about
his dad is just in the Order of British Excellence or whatever OBE stands for. So
yeah, so he's Sir or whatever. There's not knighted. But like you were saying though, it comes to with the territory of UFC how things change in a week, right? So there's always something to look forward to, and like Ryan said, there's more fights next weekend. There's another fight night. Like there's always going to be something to talk about that's going to affect something that comes up in 4 weeks. Where like boxing, are there repercussions to anything coming up that are going to affect December 3rd? Like probably not, right? So
no.
Why talk about it? That's why I like MMA. It's because it's always going. Like you were saying, though, there's so many good fights on this
right
card.
up to December 17th. We have one every Saturday, don't we?
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, you can't. It's real hard to compete with that, and you get the full weight of ESPN behind it. MMA is a tab on the top bar of ESPN. Boxing isn't.
Yeah, it is. It is moving in. When Dana White 20 years ago said we're going to be bigger than boxing, he was on to something. Because I would argue it is now. More people would know who Conor McGregor is than Tyson Fury.
No,
I think so. Depending on where you ask.
It's close. It's very close. More people here, but not internationally. Tyson Fury is a big fucking deal, dude.
Okay. Probably.
But Conor is a huge deal too. So
yeah. Either way, we talked about Calvin Kattar and Arnold Allen. That's fun stuff. Tim the Dirty Bird Means is fighting Max Griffin. That's going to be a fun one. Also exciting. I don't see this being anywhere but the feet myself. And I lean towards Max Griffin initially. That's me.
Okay.
I mean, I think the Dirty Bird takes that to the ground, but also like this is the co-main. This is garbage.
Yeah. There's so many other fights on here that could be the co-main. That's so true.
I mean, the Dustin Jacoby Khalil Roundtree fight's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm even stoked for Phil Haas, Roman Dolidze, because Roman Dolidze, who is another great Georgian fighter, and then Andrei Arlovsky and Marcos Rogerio de Lima as a heavyweight, like those are both pretty competitive. I would love to see those way higher up, not even on the prelims.
Yeah.
I think Chase Hooper should be the future prelim.
Probably.
Chase Hooper, I would be okay with that in the essence of having Andrei Arlovsky and who did I say before that?
Marcus
Phil Haas and
I like Phil Haas.
Roman Dolidze moved up to the main card. Those are way more competitive fights.
Mm-hmm.
And Khalil Roundtree that should be the co-main. That should be the co-main right there.
I think so too. Khalil can gas. So I can see like if there's some gas issues with either of them, it's slowing down. But it's a good one to kick off the pay-per-view because it likely won't go more than a round and a half.
Well, it's just a fight night. It's not a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Right. And Khalil, like if he's on, because definitely with Khalil, and this is no disrespect because
gotta be.
I mean, I understand it. It's mental. It's totally mental with him. And if he's not feeling it, he's definitely nowhere near as effective and dangerous as he could be. But when he's on, those low leg kicks are devastating.
Yeah, his training in Thailand, conditioned his legs to the point of lethal.
Dude, he could be so good, and it's all mental.
Yeah,
it's all mental. Like obviously he doesn't have a very good ground game. He fights in the light heavyweight division outside of God, what's his face? Who's going to fight in December? Who is the former champion? Right? It's all standing fighters except for our other Russian counterpart. He could be so good. He could be top 10 in that division, but for him, it's just the level of consistency is not there.
Jacoby's a good fight for him. Jacoby's still a rookie. And I think that he's got they've both got some hunger. They've got to nail down their position in the top 15 if they want to stay there. I also have a lot of Dustin Jacoby's rookie cards. So I want their value to go up.
To your point that Dustin Jacoby should be the featured or the co-main, sorry, right? That's what you were saying?
Yeah. I want them to be the co-main.
Yeah. Dustin Jacoby is the only ranked fighter on this card outside of the main event. He absolutely should be the co-main. That's fucking ridiculous. And there is no women's fight on this card.
Oh, yeah, there's not. Boys, they're back in town.
Except that the week after that, it's all on November 5th. It's a women's headliner, and then
isn't that Lemos?
Yeah, and
that's gonna be a good one.
Marina Rodriguez. Is it gonna be a good one?
I think it will be, actually. Marina Rodriguez
is good.
She's fun to watch. She's really exciting.
Okay.
I wish there was. Is there any Invicta coming out? I need to watch some Invicta. I have a feeling that there's going to be some transitionings of the guard in women's next year. I think that this is a weird and early 2023 prediction, but I just feel like Amanda is out. I don't think she's going to do anything, and I honestly don't know that Victory is.
Wait. What do you mean? Like, you think she's going to retire?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially if she loses the 145 belt. Also,
who is she going to lose the 145 belt to?
Anybody who decides to challenge for it.
What are you talking about?
She lost her last fight. I don't think the steam is there anymore.
Lost her last fight?
Yeah. No, sorry. She won. She did win it back.
In convincing fashion, sir. Show some respect.
I just don't think it's there. This is
one of the things.
This is sometimes these are my takes.
Sometimes it drives me fucking crazy. Other times I'm like, all right, let's play this game. Out of nowhere, you're like, Amanda Nunes is out of steam. It's like,
she is.
What? You know what I mean?
I was seeing the Lemos and Rodriguez fight announcement. I was like, man, there's the women's. It's Valentina and it's Amanda, and like,
you think someone's gonna beat one of the two of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think one of their hypes is going to be over. I
think
know
we
Valentina
saw it already.
was sick.
We saw it already. We saw Amanda lose, and then we saw her get it back. That's the end of that story. Now, if you want to say, I mean, Amanda's going to retire, and strawweight could change hands the next 5 straight fights.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have a discussion. But Valentina, I don't see it. I don't see Manon beating her.
Not yet.
I don't see Manon beating her as well. It's going to have to be a wrestler.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Like Tyler Santos.
Yeah. Hey, Anna.
Kayla Harrison.
At 145.
Kayla Harrison's never making 125. Or who have we not talked about who's been the great American hope at 125, who's had the neck injury for God knows how long.
Oh, see, I've already forgotten her name.
Right.
Is it Andrea Lee?
No, Andrea Lee fights at she also fights at 125, but she's not who I'm thinking of.
I know who is it, not Tracy Cortez.
No,
I don't
Tracy
know.
Cortez fights at 115 and she's with Brian Ortega.
I'm sorry, which weight class are we talking about?
125.
Strawweight?
Flyweight.
Flyweight.
Yeah, flyweight.
I'm looking at the flyweight. Tracy Cortez is 13.
I can't think of. Are we talking about? Geez.
I can't. It's tip of my tongue. I was just thinking about her the other day too.
It's right there. Tatiana Suarez.
Yes. Tatiana Suarez.
Yeah.
Tatiana
let's get her up
Suarez,
there.
who was an Olympic hopeful. She was on the team. She got diagnosed with cancer while she was training for the Olympics.
Yeah. She won
And
tough.
She won tough. And I mean, she ran through the competition. Nobody could compete with her pedigree. And then
She might be on
doing
the list.
She might be on the list too. She has many attributes. Anyway, she also got like a run of bad luck with like just neck injuries. Really bad neck injuries.
Yeah.
She also knocked out Carla Esparza.
Yep.
And I mean,
She's
Carla
a champ.
Esparza is also a wrestler. She's got nothing for her.
So
Carla's got nothing for her.
what is her status now? We haven't seen her since June of 2019.
Yeah, she's not even ranked anymore. She had
She
surgery.
Had a fight scheduled somewhat recently, May of 21. I remember we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then that fight didn't happen. Is that right?
I believe she wasn't ready.
No, there was an article about her May 19th, 2021.
She beat Nina Nunes before she was Nina Nunes last in 2019. Yep. Look at that knockout over Carla Esparza. She beat Grasso, who just won and looked really good. Like this
Nina,
is
Carla, Alexa Grasso, Vivian Pejeda, bunch of no names.
Yeah. So like I said, next year maybe Tatiana comes back and I am Nostradamus.
If her literal 3 years of ring rust doesn't sort of work against her, I do think it's that type of skill set needed to beat Shevchenko. I just don't see it happening otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, fellas, it was a fine night of conversation with y'all. But the time has come that I must retire. Yes.
Learn to sing in High Valerian by our next episode.
Okay. I'll try. I'll call up Mary and Pippin and have them sing me some of their.
Nope, that's a different thing.
Nope.
Oh,
that's a
got
totally different thing.
I love that Damon knows all the dragon shit.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah,
he read about it in Pentos.
He's like, yeah, those ones. That's right. That's what he was studying.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'll walk into the cave of the biggest one that's not, as tame as a dragon can be and sing to it. And I'll harvest the eggs and incubate them. Like, I think that's dope.
You know what? I know where you're going. Damon Targaryen 2024.
Oh!
Hey, you know why I love MMA so much? It's pretty neat. That is 100% true, but it's also because it brings us together. You know what? Violence really does bring